getting a permit for their Colossus 2 data center, which stores Musk's AI chatbot Grok. I'm Jim Roop.
Several residents and business owners in Chicago's Hyde Park neighborhood are taking a victory lap after halting a planned teen takeover. Perry Williams reports.
A number of people organized their own adult takeover and spoke with young people with the hope of shutting down a rowdy gathering.
Let's have a conversation instead of talking at them and making them feel like it's us against them. We're in this together.
No.
On March 30th, teens caused thousands of dollars in damage in Hyde Park.
And this you bested in the face.
Vehicles.
You want to break
Mayor
something,
Brandon
Anna?
Johnson posted a plea on X, calling for parents to be aware of where their children are.
From America's News Network, USA Radio News.
Maybe this is you too. There's enormous frustration right now with healthcare costs. It is amazing. Healthcare costs for families in the last 20 years have almost tripled, and it just keeps getting worse. All this to say, this is why MediShare is so in demand right now. People are looking for alternatives, and MediShare is proven. You can save thousands of dollars a year and actually like it more. Over 1 million Americans are now part of healthcare sharing, and MediShare is the gold standard. It's trusted, it works, it's been helping people save money and have peace of mind now for 30 plus years. It's not some big impersonal thing either. It's a community of people like you helping each other. So yeah, if you're frustrated too, here's your chance to make a refreshing change. You'll notice the difference as soon as you call. They're easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
If you've filled up your tank recently, you may have noticed that gas prices have fallen since last week.
AAA says the average price nationally for a gallon of regular gasoline is $4.10. That's down from last week's average of $4.16. A month ago, we paid $3.70 nationally. A year ago, less than $3.20 a gallon. I'm Daria Albinger.
Big changes are happening behind the scenes in the tech world, and you may not even notice.
When it comes to their business, a $50 billion investment by Amazon into OpenAI is being labeled, quote, a key growth driver. That was the subject of an internal memo from the newly appointed OpenAI revenue chief last weekend. Amazon's investment in OpenAI is seen as a direct challenge to their top competitor in cloud computing, Microsoft. The revenue chief's memo suggests OpenAI will continue to distance itself from Microsoft. I'm Rory O'Neill.
A new study shows women living in places with high levels of radon have a 31% greater chance of developing ovarian cancer.
A report in JAMA Network Open shows that risk is even higher for women with a family history of breast cancer. About a quarter of Americans live in homes with radon levels high enough that the EPA recommends mitigation action should be taken. Radon is a gas naturally released from the earth and water and is the second leading cause of lung cancer. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
I'm Ron Warner, USA Radio News.
You can help put vets to work by donating your car, truck, or van. Your donation will directly support programs to help vets find jobs or even start their own business. Donate today for fast, free pickup of your vehicle. Call 800-209-4580. For 24-hour response, call 800-209-4580. That's 800-209-4580.
Dependable Lock Service is your source for replacement car keys, custom safes from Liberty Safe, and so many more lock and key services. With over 30 years of experience in lock and key industry, there's nothing Dependable Lock Service can't do for you. Whether you're looking for duplicate automotive chip keys, rekeying commercial and residential locks, or custom safe building, we've got you covered. Call 603-886-0559. Nashua's dependable lock services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
The sky's not the limit, it's just the beginning. I'm Ed Mullen from Nashua Aerial Advertising. There's no better way to advertise your business and or message than high in the sky. How can you make your advertising budget work for you? By putting your ads up where they'll stand out. The sky is an uncluttered, impressive venue. You can put your message over a region or location to target your desired demographic. Put your ads where they're needed. We provide coverage over communities through Merrimack Valley, Greater Nashua, Manchester, Lowell, and points throughout South Central New Hampshire and North Central Mass. Summertime beaches, sporting events, races, fairs, and festivals are all ready-made for banner telling. For more information, please visit us online at NashuaAerialAdvertising.com. And remember, the sky's not the limit, it's just the beginning.
Tired of wondering where your money really goes? At Mammoth Nation, we built what was missing. The America First Marketplace. Every brand we feature is 100% American owned and operated. Rigorously vetted for their values and committed to supporting our Constitution, law enforcement, and the American dream. When you shop with us, your dollar stays in the neighborhood, supporting families, veterans, and charities like Folds of Honor. No more sending your hard-earned money overseas to the companies that don't respect you here. Your dollar reflects your values. Your dollar, your values. Your America. Join Mammoth Nation today and be part of building a patriot economy by going to truckersunitedforfreedom.com affiliate page and hit that link. American built, America strong. Mammoth Nation.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to the Common Sense Conservatives, a political discussion group about current events and other government-related matters every Wednesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Right here on WSMN 1590 AM, WSMN 95.3 FM, and streaming live on wsmn.live. Making sense of the inverted reality we are subject to every day, the Common Sense Conservatives are here to help bring you back to reality. Now, your hosts, Chris Wyatt, Todd McKinley, and John Glover.
Indeed, the inverted reality which we see each and every day. The world is clearly upside down. You know, when the British lost at Yorktown, the band played "The World Turned Upside Down." I feel like that's a song we need to play every day there, John. How's it going up in the studio in Nashua, New Hampshire? I see it's daylight as we fade into spring.
Yeah, man, that daylight's getting a little bit longer as time passes by. We're enjoying that, of course, warming up, enjoying the nice weather. Republicans here in the State House are pushing for a constitutional amendment, no income taxes. They're going to solidify it. They're going to make it a genuine thing that nobody's going to be able to come along and say, here's another bill for income tax. Nope, they're going to close that all up. So we're pretty happy about that, at least us conservatives. I mean, there's a lot of liberals shedding some liberal tears about it, but they'll get over it soon enough once it passes and gets ratified, I'm sure.
What are the chances of passing? Do they control the House and the Senate in New Hampshire?
We have a House and Senate are conservative controlled and the gubernatorial. So, I don't know how strong the chances are of it passing, to be honest with you. Today's tax day, so they had a hearing today on tax day and stuff like that on it, and so it's kind of something new to me. I did sign a petition yesterday on it. Somebody passed along and go, hey, man, can you sign this petition for it? Kind of help them along. Yeah, absolutely, I'll sign this petition. Be more than happy to. So, we'll see how it rolls out, man. Have to keep an eye on it and see how things just kind of plug along. I mean, we did get rid of that whole pesky inspection thing. I mean, technically not, but yes, it's still not required to have an inspection here in the middle of April, even though the court said we had to resume our inspections and stuff like that. The state said, but we don't have anybody. We don't have anybody, contractors, to do it now. We got rid of them. So, sorry.
Well, you did have to ruin the party for everybody, reminding us that it is, in fact, April 15th, the tax ban cometh. Unless you file an extension, even if you don't, even if you have a return, you have to file an extension. But if you have a deficit and you owe the government, you can get extension, but you got to pay interest on the money you owe them from April 15th. Indeed, it's April 15th, and I'm still puzzled by these tax cuts. They didn't do me any favors. My effective tax rate is 5% higher than it was last year. What's going on with that? I thought Trump gave his tax. I guess you got to be a waitress or a bartender to get a break here, but my taxes went up. I paid a ridiculous amount of taxes this year, and of course, the self-employment tax is what kills you. That really does you in, because I don't have an employer. I'm my own employer, so I got to pay both shares of it. And the irony is that the Social Security Administration claims the last 2 years I've paid no self-employment tax. I'm like, are you people high? I paid more self-employment tax the past 2 years reported in my income tax than I had in any previous year. So pretty crazy stuff. Todd, did you get your taxes filed, or are you going to rush out of here with the few hours you have left to get it done?
No, I finally got it done last week. Kind of waited to the last. I did it the last 2 years because I knew I would owe some money. So I had to pay this year. I had to pay last year. With the school board, I don't take any taxes out. I just wait till the end of the year to pay that. So that bumps it up. There's Pikachu. Somebody was asking for it. He put Pikachu up. There you go. Anyway, for the people who can't watch, he has a little Pikachu over his shoulder there, the Colonel, and somebody was asking in the chat, "Where's Pikachu?" He was on the floor. I guess he took a tumble. I don't know.
I was gonna say you had to pick it up off the floor, so it kind of gives me the impression he takes his frustrations out on Pikachu. What do you think?
No. Pikachu gets into that. Pikachu gets into no. Pikachu gets into that peach wine after we filed the taxes on Sunday, and he hasn't quite recovered.
Something has to take that pay. I don't know. I agree with you, Chris. I ended up paying this year again, and I felt like I was under Biden's taxes. I'm like, this is incredible.
Well, I mean, I did get returns. They're not big, but I paid twice as much as I needed to pay to Pennsylvania, which is a smaller amount. But I also paid so much more of my income. I cleaned out my business accounts to pay taxes and got a very small refund back. I mean, it's crazy how much I paid in taxes. I mean, people are talking about, illegal aliens. Well, hey, whoever's eating all our money, whether it's Defense Department, illegal aliens, we need to get control of this. Let's get that 10% flat tax in here. I think we could all applaud for that one. What about you, Todd? Would you be in favor of 10% flat tax?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and here's another thing. My royalties from my self-produced or self-published Amazon book bump what I owe up about $200 some bucks, even though I donate all the money that I receive from it anyway. So I donate all the money, and I still had to pay taxes. And I look to try to basically itemize, and they're like, based on what you have here, the standard deduction is best for you. So I took the standard deduction, moved on.
Well, guys, if we could just take a moment, I think it's important to take this moment and just a moment to respect for the passing of the political career of Eric Swallwell. Moment of silence.
Are we feeling something for Democrats? I mean, sorry, I wasn't silent in your moment of silence.
Well, John, long, I don't know if you saw the text message, but I did send you an email with a song for Fang Fang. Yeah, if you can get that to play on the air, we'll have a brief interlude here, and the audience can listen into this song. It's on the passing of Eric Swallwell's political career. Todd, have you been shedding any tears this week?
None at all. And I remembered back the many times we've talked about him on this show about the Chinese spy and the prostitution and all this, and everybody's like, no, you can't prove that. And you had, the speaker, Nancy Pelosi, former speaker, stood right by him, put him on committees. Like, no, he's a spy. He has all these problems. All of a sudden, it finally breaks when he runs for governor of California. And he's not the Democrat pick to run for governor of California. So they's like, you know what? Your time's up. Get out of here. You're not who we want.
Indeed. The whole thing is a scam, what's going on in California. And Swalwell had the hubris, John, to think that he was untouchable. And the irony here is hearing these fake reporters claim, oh, we knew about this all along. Then why didn't you report it? This is like the Hollywood scumbag that's in jail. But not Epstein. What's the other guy? I can't think of his name right now, but the one who went to jail.
Yeah, Weinstein.
Yeah, Harvey Weinstein. Yeah,
Harvey Weinstein.
And these actors like not Ben Affleck, but the other guy knew all about it. And then, when his girlfriend was being harassed and threatened to beat the guy, and they didn't report it to anybody. So just let this abuser keep attacking other women. Look, I don't know what's going on with Swalwell, but it's interesting to him to say that these are false allegations, but I'm resigning from Congress. Sure. I'm going to fight these false allegations. Remember, he's the clown that says, what's wrong with Republican men, the way they treat women? Well, that's come back to haunt you, buddy.
Yeah.
You got it ready there, John?
Absolutely.
He led Believe All Women. Remember? Believe All Women. He led that charge.
He did. He did. While he was busy, according to these allegations, violating women and abusing them. All right. So this song is a tribute to Congressman Fang Fang. So it's about 5.5 minutes. So apologize for the length, but I think you'll enjoy it for the audience here. This is a world debut on broadcast radio of Fang Fang.
I did click the button. I'm just waiting for it to. Well, I thought it. All right. Well, as we're waiting for this to come up, I'd just like to say, glass houses and all.
Gather round me, lads and lasses, and lift your mugs up high. For a tale of one bold congressman, we'll sing before goodbye. With whispers wild and stories strange that drifted far and wide, and truth bent like a willow wand in politics swift tide. Bye now, Congressman, fine. We won't pretend we'll pine. For missing you would stretch the truth like watered down cheap wine. You spun your yarns and tales so tall they reach the stars above. So mind the door upon your way. No need for push or shove. Hey, don't let the door hit ye where the good Lord split ye. Raise a glass and let it ring. Hey, with the wink and cheer, we'll toast your career. And the songs the fiddlers sing. From D.C. halls to California calls, your legends taken wing. So drink it down and pass it round for Fang's farewell fling. But wait, me friends, the road ain't clear. It twists and turns ahead. For troubles bloom like dandelions where once you softly tread. In New York town they call your name with paper sharp as knives. And out west two more voices rise with tales from tangled lives. You say they're all just after you, a chorus loud and shrill. Yet every town you wander through brings whispers louder still. And now the feds come knocking too with questions left and right. Oh, Eric lad, the days have changed from simpler days of slight. Hey, don't let the door hit ye where the good Lord split ye. Raise a glass and let it ring. From coast to coast you've earned a toast, or at least a song we sing. With the rumors grand and shifting sand and troops that twist and cling. We'll laugh out loud with the rowdy crowd at Fang's farewell fling. Oh, once it was but whispers soft of spies and midnight calls. A curious tale for tavern talk in shadow drinking halls. But now the storm has gathered strong, the thunder rolls in fast, and Karma's boots come stomping hard to settle scores at last. From California's sunlit shores to marble steps of power, you danced among the mighty ones and ruled your fleeting hour. But friends in high and mighty seats can vanish in a day and leave you standing all alone when fortunes fade away. Oh, the fiddles cry and the pipers sigh as the tale comes tumbling down of a man who thought he'd never fall from his lofty gilded crown. They say you were untouchable, beyond reproach and blame, a master of the grand design, a player in the game. But every card gets counted, lad, and every trick laid bare, and even kings can find themselves without a seat or chair. So here's to you, bold Fang, with a grin both wide and sly. We'll say farewell with laughter loud and not a tear to cry. For though your tale's a winding one and far from at its end, we'll sing it in the pubs tonight with foe and maybe friend. Hey, don't let the door hit ye where the good Lord split ye. Raise a glass and let it ring. Hey, with a roar
Well,
Yes.
there
Yes.
you go.
Golf clap.
So that was Fang Fang's farewell. I have another version of it, but you might have heard the horns in the background. It sounds suspiciously like.
About the tuba I kept hearing.
Yeah, it sounds very suspiciously like a famous moment that Fang Fang had on camera.
Oh yeah, right. The little
He's
part,
he's passing gas there. That's what it sounded like there. Anyway, all right. So I got another one where there's everyone's singing with it. So anyway, that was to the career of Eric Swallwell, who has now been accused of by one woman of having, done the R word to her several years ago. Several others came forward claiming sexual assault. There is a video that Anna Paulina Luna has seen, and the forensic experts in Congress have looked at it and said that it is genuine. It is not artificial intelligence, purportedly of Eric Swalwell lying in bed with a minor in a hotel. No further information. We don't want to spread aspersions there. Maybe it was, a stuffed animal or something. Who knows? Maybe it wasn't a child, but the people dropped him like a hot rock. And what's shocking about this, Todd, is that it took so long. This guy has been such an arrogant clown for such a long time, lying about Trump, lying about Republicans, just being an outrageous character. He's smarmy. He reminds me of Beto O'Rourke, although Beto probably is less smarmy. The fact that any idiot ever voted for this guy shows you just how stupid voters can be. I mean, you get a vibe off him, a creep vibe. It's like Joe Biden sniffing kids' hairs. I mean, you see that, it's like, ew, dude, stay away from the man with the van and the ice cream. Todd, I mean, are you surprised that this is how his career ended, or no?
No, not surprised at all. You think about this. We go back and we've talked about it on this show. It's the people who are screaming very loudly, the first to run out, believe all women, are generally, and we've talked about this, likely doing something. We were right. We were proven right. Something's going to break on this guy at some point whenever they don't need him anymore. We said that. And all of a sudden, they don't need him anymore. All these people that defended him, like Nancy Pelosi, we just said, all of a sudden, you need to resign. You need to go away. But she knew about this. If you think about this, the most powerful female in the history of the U.S. House of Representatives, and one of the most powerful female in the history of Washington, D.C., arguably more powerful than Hillary Clinton because she actually held sway in Congress, unlike Hillary. She defended this guy till all of a sudden it breaks. Well, let's dump this guy. Now all of a sudden she wants to get rid of him. She knew about this. She has dirt on everybody. Let's be clear.
Oh, there is no way that she didn't know about this. Come on. I mean, that's not even remotely plausible. This woman has a pathological pattern of lying to the public. So not surprising. Of course, we could go back and look at her, a few $100,000 of wealth and $160 million wealth now after the visa deal. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But I'm not even remotely surprised by this, John, about this. This guy seemed like such a creep all along. And now it looks like he's being exposed as a creep. What I hope is that there's genuine prosecutions and he winds up in jail where he belongs.
Yeah. Well, like I was starting to say before, these Democrats, and they're throwing stones in glass houses. I mean, there's Letitia James, and I do believe she was charged again, so she may still be facing accountability for her actions. And now you see this guy come along, and look what he's got.
Well, look at the prosecutor in Georgia, spending taxpayer money to prosecute Trump and having secret meetings with the administration to collude and try to trump up charge against him. And then she's sleeping with her boyfriend down there. Remember that? She's under charge. No one said anything about that case. I'm waiting for the criminal lawsuits against Mr. Bragg, Alvin Bragg in New York. That would be lovely. I'd also love to see someone dig up some dirt on the judge who put excessive bail of $455 million on Trump, which was overturned. It's a clear violation of the Bill of Rights, yet they did it. So these people need to be persecuted and prosecuted.
Yeah, Bragg probably needs a fedora with a big long feather in his cap because he's probably the slick Willie who's going to get away.
Well, I think you're right about that. I think he will escape because there's so many other people to target right now because of their conduct, which is unbelievable. All right, guys, really quickly, John, I sent you another email, and I don't recall if we played this song or not. We don't have to play it right now, but we'll play it a little bit later on. This is a song that I put together called The Lament of the Seven Seas about the Iranian Navy. Did we play that before?
I think we did.
I think we did, but we could refresh it and play it again.
Yep, I got it in here. Whenever you're ready, let me know.
Well, we'll play that again a little bit later on, just for everyone as we talk about the Iranian conflict. But let's talk about a stranger thing. And, we've always said on this program, we will hold everyone to account. Just if it doesn't matter if we agree with people on many issues, if they're up to something that just doesn't smell right, we'll say something. And I'm going to go out here and I'm going to say it, and then we get these guys' opinion on it, because if we differ, that's fine. But this is what I have to say. President Trump's tweet or Truth Social on Sunday was unfortunate and I think reprehensible on Easter Sunday, when he offended Christians with his message about Iran, and then also offended Muslims with his, praise to Allah on Easter Sunday. And then his follow-up, which was pretty sad. But then perhaps even more egregious was this artificial intelligence caricature or sketch of him appearing to be Jesus Christ with a fawning audience of Americans that look like they're all white too, looking up at him like he's some sort of deity. That was pretty sad. Now, I will criticize the president for both those things. Those are own goals that were unnecessary, that simply detract from the mission at hand, and it leads these Democrats to their outrageous nonsense about the 25th Amendment. They're playing games with that. And then the other thing about President Trump is he's been going after Pope Leo. And quite frankly, I have no issues with that. I think what he said about Pope Leo is just a matter of opinion, and I don't disagree with it. I think the reason they picked an American Pope was just to be a thorn in Trump's side, because they have Trump derangement syndrome in the Vatican.
Right.
That's my take on that. Todd, are we in agreement, or do you disagree?
No, so here's the one thing I would say. If you're going after the Pope as a head of state, because he is a head of state of the Vatican, I think that's perfectly proper. You say that, well, the Pope doesn't engage in politics. He does engage in politics. He does. Now, I wouldn't go after him as head of church or something like that. That's that's people's faith right there. Now, if I want to call the Catholics out, because I maybe differ on some things, that's perfectly fine. But I don't think the president needs to be calling somebody out on their religion. So call the Pope out on being head of state politically. That's perfectly fine. But calling him out, on anything else, I think is out of bounds. But the President Trump's never found a sport where he's found out of bounds at any time in his career. I don't think.
Well, in fact, I'm of the same opinion. You were more clear about that. He is the head of state of a political entity, the Vatican. My point is that he should spend his time tending to his flock, which has its own issues. And for the Catholic Church to preach morality and to condemn other nations for defending themselves with conflict is rich, given the Inquisition, given the torture of people by the Catholic Church, the Crusades that they led to recoup the Holy Land. Generations of young men were wiped out from Europe because they went to fight the Crusades on behalf of the Catholic Church. They really don't have any place to stand. Also, the Catholic Church's collusion with the Nazis in the 1930s and during the Second World War. Yeah, so I mean, they can't wrap themselves in holier than thou. I mean, nothing against the Catholic Church per se, but for the Pope to keep sticking, that's two popes in a row: the Argentine fool and now an American fool. So that's my position. So it sounds like we're in agreement. John, you're with us, or you disagree?
I think the May the Will of Allah Easter Sunday post, I liked it, because he's basically saying we're going to stomp on your butt and may the will of Allah. It's the will of Allah. You know what I'm saying? So that's their religious belief. And what he was doing was poking them in the eye, saying, so after we kick your butt, you're just going to have to accept it because it's God's will.
Well,
so
he probably
it was kind of humorous.
He probably should have put inshallah instead of, what he did put. He probably, inshallah means if God wills it, basically, inshallah.
So I don't know. I wasn't bothered by it. I'm not emotional that way, like some people on social media. But then again, I support Trump and I give Trump a free pass a lot because of what he's gone through, what the left has put him through. I think he, if he wants to do it, he does it. And the thing about the Pope, that image, that meme everybody got upset about, if you look, the garments he was wearing was that of the Pope. He was mocking him. The Pope stepped into his lane and started talking about politically criticizing Trump. The Pope can get out of Trump's business just like the Pope wants Trump out of his business. You know what I'm saying? So when he does what he does, I didn't take offense to it. I thought it was funny, to be honest with you, because he pretty much told the Pope, here's your finger, here's your poke in the eye. At least I'm doing something for the world. You don't do anything but stand there on your pulpit and talk big game.
Had he said, I'm poking at the Pope, that's one thing. But he said, I thought it was a doctor or something like that.
It just doesn't seem credible.
I don't know why he did that.
So, John,
your defense doesn't hold up on that one because
John,
he admitted.
John, I have a complaint for the station manager. My God key is not working. I tried to mute your mic with that story you were telling. It didn't work.
Oh wow! I offer you access to the restream Chris, a while back ago. You didn't accept that on me. See, you'd have had control over the mic, and
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
you'd have
Mike.
muted me out on that end, but the good people of Nashua, New Hampshire, would have had to put up with it. So,
well, the God key is not working tonight, so very much in line with Trump's Christ, AI. Anyway, so look,
it wasn't
folks,
Christ. That was it. Well, he was
All
doing
right.
the whole healing thing.
Okay, so look again, folks. We don't agree on everything here. That was the purpose of bringing that topic up. Not to beat up on John. Also, that we will hold people to account, even if it doesn't matter if it's Trump or if it's Rand Paul. It does not matter. We will hold them account. Anyway, so yeah, it's that was disappointing from my perspective. What's going on there, because it's detracting from everything. It really Trump is the ultimate troll. I get it, and he trolled the Iranians, and his intent was to get them to come to the table, and it sort of worked. But I mean, there's a sense of decorum, which apparently just doesn't exist. There's no filter on the president's on his social account, so we got to work on that. Renee Christopher said she liked it too, John.
oh yeah, my little buddy Renee. Hey Renee, how you doing?
All right, so I can't turn her mic off, but
that's all right.
You can. I wouldn't let you. I give Renee a free pass too.
And of course somebody will probably come and say free speech, and I'm like, no. It is a private corporation. There's such thing as free speech.
I would meet you guys in the middle and say it was kind of tasteless.
Yeah,
okay,
it was. That's the problem.
And it riled up the masses, and he really shouldn't be doing things that would rile up the masses. He doesn't need the opposition of the people. What he needs is some more support of the people, because there's so many people. We got what I call the turncoat media. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, all those guys.
Ooh,
I don't like the woke right, because you can't be woke and right at the same time. That's a contradiction of terms. That's an oxymoron. But you can be the turncoat media. What's that?
They managed to be pulling it off. You can't be right and be woke.
That's why I call them the turncoat media, because they did a turncoat maneuver on us.
I've listened to a few Tucker Carlson's interviews lately, and I'm like, why is everybody so upset with what he's saying? Because in a lot of cases, I'm like, he just seems rational in a lot of it. Where's the outrage coming from? Is it just because he's against Trump or something like that? Or, I mean, I don't watch a lot of Tucker Carlson, mind you. I just want to be clear. But I've watched a few interviews lately, and they seemed reasonable.
Well, the outrage against him is because he's become an apologist for tyrants and for fascists around the world. You mean the slathering love affair that he gave and allowed Vladimir Putin to sit there for an hour and spew pure fiction about the history of Russia.
Right. I mean, sure. He didn't push back.
Right. That's where it began. He did several interviews after that, people just shaking their heads. And then his attacks. Also, Tucker Carlson is a hypocrite, and he's a flip-flopper. He's another John Kerry. We have a videotape of him not all that long ago on television saying, that Iran is a pariah. They need to be stripped down and defanged. And the words he said, they got to be, they can't have nuclear weapons, yada, yada.
Right.
And then Trump goes and does it, and he attacks him. This war is unnecessary. Well, how did you expect they're going to be disarmed? Could you please get rid of your nuclear weapons? Oh, no. Sure. No problem. Come on, man.
Listen, guys, you can't deny the fact that there's money coming out of the Mideast that funds our universities. They give money to our universities so they can have like Mideast studies and stuff like this. But then you see Pakistan, which Trump had to shut down. You see these Pakistan students that are doing protests on these universities and getting violent against Israel. And they're getting away with it because these universities are getting big money. So they're trying to influence our youth in the way they think and educating them to favor Islam, to favor the Muslims, to favor these countries. Okay, they're getting into our media outlets here in the United States. That's why we call them the fake media. That's why we're calling them turncoat media, because they're embedding themselves in these things. They're influencing these things. Tucker Carlson says, "Oh, I'm going to buy some property in Qatar." That says it all for us. That says it all for everybody. Once he starts saying he's going to buy property in Qatar, we know he's in their pockets.
Look, I mean, all the characters you mentioned, they all have ridden a wave for popularity, for fame, for ad dollars, and for attention. And when that's not gaining them any traction, they change who they are. I mean, when I was floundering with a lower number of subscribers, I didn't change who I am. I don't change my standards and my moral code.
Nor should you.
And when my channel grew 600% larger than it had been a year ago, I'm still the same person. That doesn't affect, because I'm grounded. I'm not, so these people, I mean, I understand why Mark Levin calls him Tucker Carlson. It makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
So all these guys, look, I'm not trying to start a war with them, but they are very inconsistent, the people we're talking about. And it's shocking, the behavior. And a lot of this comes down to Charlie Kirk. Look, I've said on the air before, I was not a fan of Charlie Kirk. I didn't dislike him. I respected what he did. I was impressed by his intellect and what he did when he went to college campuses and said, okay, let's have a conversation. That was absolutely brilliant. But I did not like Turning Point USA, which was an elitist organization which refused to take assistance or allow participation from people over the age of 30. And I just was put off by that because they think they know everything. They don't know jack squat. We were all under 30 once, and we thought we ruled the world, and we were wrong too. Right. There's this arrogant attitude from Turning Point USA. So, I mean, that's a statement of fact. But that doesn't mean I turned on Charlie Kirk. It doesn't mean, just because I disagree with that. But I respected his message, and he was on point. But since the death of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, some of these people have lost their minds. I mean, they're attacking his widow. I don't really care much about his widow. I haven't paid much attention to it, but this demonic obsession going after it. And look, I mean, people like Candace Owens are going to find their comeuppance. I mean, this lawsuit with the French First Lady is not going to go away. She's going to, I don't know what's going to happen in the end, but I mean, if the French have their way, Candace Owens will be bankrupted. That's for darn sure.
Yeah. So in addition to what I was saying earlier, okay, so there's going to be people that are getting paid, right? At the beginning, you're going to have people like Nick Fuentes, a guy out of Chicago who's a white supremacist.
Yeah.
Is out of Chicago. This is sounding kind of funny to me.
Oh, no, but John, we know that Chicago is a haven for white supremacists from the South who come up there looking for homosexual black men, and they come in the dark of night and winter with their cowboy hats on. Come here, boy. Come here. We're going to lynch you. Remember that?
I remember that right out of the South.
Jussie Smollett. Wow, I remember that.
So, but then you're going to get people that want to get on the fringe. They saw something developing and growing, like say out of what Nick Fuentes said. By the way, Nick Fuentes is known. There was a study on him, or somebody did some research on him. He took and started at 19 years of age in 2017. And he had pretty good growth. Some people gave him some infusion, some money so that he could grow off. Good sum of money, like $250,000, I think one rich guy gave him. So It was a good start for him. But he really got his growth in 2025 because he invested a lot of money. This white supremacist going to Pakistani robot farms that operate on them little cell phones so he can game the social media system so it looked like he had a greater following. And then when people saw this supposed following, then they started getting on board. And I try to explain to people, because this guy is convincing does not mean he is right. You got to really think about it. You really got to judge what he's saying. Somebody telling you, well, we need Iran to balance out the Mideast because they fight Israel and that creates balance in the Mideast. No, that doesn't begin to make sense.
Right.
That's the most jackwagon thing I've ever heard. Right. Okay. But so anyway, yeah, you get these people like them that may be on the payroll somewhere, but you're going to get people like Chris said. They see a fringe, they see something developing and growing, and they want to get right at the beginning of that fringe, right at the cusp of it when it's taken off, so they look like they were part of that wave. You know what I mean? And I think they made mistakes. People like the Hodge twins, people like Owens, what's her name, Megyn Kelly. I think these people might be more just trying to get on the fringe of all this stuff, and now they're going to find themselves in a bad situation when things turn back around again. They're going to have to start backpedaling and doing what they do.
Well, the thing about this social media thing is that people lend credibility and credence to people who have no qualifications, no experience, and no analytical ability whatsoever. They're just parroting what the popular term or narrative is at the time. And look, I'm not going to pick on people, but I'm going to give an example. Nick Shirley is getting all this credit for exposing fraud. But people were exposing the fraud for years before he did it on YouTube, and it caught the algorithm and suddenly became famous and got millions of subscribers. But the Minnesota fraud was done by some old white guy. He's been reporting on it for years. And the fraud in California was by this lady who did it. Now, she's like happy to team up with him. But the bottom line is that, and I'm not picking on Nick Shirley, but that doesn't make him a subject matter expert. Right. It also doesn't mean he has good judgment. I mean, look at some of the place he goes and what he does. It just means that that's at the moment what happened at the time. You see this with many other people. And what frustrates me is, and I'm not going to speak ill of it because people keep going on about how great 2CTV is. But he has said some outrageous things there. He said the other day, now if I stand corrected, but because I didn't hear it, but multiple people told me he said this, so maybe I'm wrong. So if he said this is shocking. He said that Britain and France were going to interdict the United States in the Strait of Hormuz. Well, I mean, first off, that's insane. They're NATO allies. They're not going to interdict U.S. ships. That NATO would end right there, and there would probably likely be a comment. That just doesn't make any sense. And of course, it never happened. It never happened. And so you get these people that. Now, he's a smart guy, but you get people that have no background, but they sound good, they look good on camera or on a microphone, and so people listen to them as if they're authoritative, as if they know what they're talking about, and they simply do not. And what's happening right now, I mention this because Elon Musk has posted on X his complaint about the government of South Africa being racist and how he was being offered a bribe, or he was supposed to offer a bribe in order to get the license for Starlink to operate in South Africa. So South Africa government is losing its mind. As a consequence of Elon Musk now actually saying what many other people have been saying for years, that know what they're talking about, not that he doesn't, but what's happened is that large YouTube channels searching for the next thing they can grasp onto to draw viewers in, to make money off ads, to become more famous, are talking about South Africa. The problem is that most of them have no idea what they're talking about. They get the story wrong. They cause confusion. But you know what? At this point, as long and hard as I've been working to draw attention to the crimes of the South African government over the past 20 plus years, I'm actually kind of okay with it because I've been shadow banned, I've been blocked, I've been attacked, I've had channels removed, and I never said anything that ever violated community standards. I never did anything that was wrong. I never attacked anyone that wasn't a state figure, a public figure. I didn't get the traction that was necessary to make this a global story. Elon Musk is drawing that attention, and even if other people are glomming onto it, a lot of people now, because these videos are getting 800,000 views. I mean, I've never gotten 800,000 view video, and they're getting part of the story wrong, but people are watching it. So now people are talking about what's going on in South Africa, and at some point, I'm actually okay with that. But later on, this is going to be a problem when people go back and these people think they're experts when they don't. I watched the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, something I enjoy. They're talking about South Africa. They haven't got a clue about South Africa. We got 250,000 views on the video. They have no idea what they're talking about. And these are smart guys. And instead of getting someone on the program actually knows what they're talking about, they just start prattling on. And people watch it because they watch that show. There's a danger inherent with that. Mm-hmm. The story gets corrupted. The narrative is incorrect. And then the other side pounces. They pounce. See?
I have a problem doing stuff like this because I got to be right. I got to know what I'm talking about to speak on it.
Yeah.
So I feel kind of reserved about what I say because I don't want to be wrong what I say. I don't want to mislead people. So it's a very difficult thing to come on here and talk sometimes about subject matter. And so, but you get these guys like Chris described that go on there and they just blather around and say just anything. They don't care if they're right or wrong. They care about the views. They care about whether their content's getting reach. And you're right. It's damaging, Chris, when they do that.
Todd, you were going to jump in there, I think?
No, I was going to say, just use an example, like people that cite, did you see what Joe Rogan said or whatever? It's Joe Rogan gets millions
Joe
of
Rogan
views.
is an MMA guy. He's the news radio repair guy.
Right, but right. And if you want to talk about MMA or stand-up comedy, that's cool. But most of the stuff, it's just he's just talking, and because he has millions of views, people cite, "Did you see what Rogan said? Did you hear what Rogan said?" I'm like, I don't care what Rogan said. He's not a subject matter expert on anything except for probably MMA commentary and some comedy. That's his bailiwick, and that's cool. But let's talk. You're talking about global politics, war in Iran, whatever the case may be. I really don't care what he has to say. Sorry, and I'm not saying he's an idiot. He's got something that works for him, but I don't care how many views you got, how many followers you got. Doesn't make you an expert. That's all I was really basically saying.
So somebody here says Trump is a new Hitler. Glad you got an opinion, buddy. Let me know when you get one that works.
Who is streaming to Twitch? That looks like a Twitch symbol.
It does, doesn't it?
It is. It might be mine. It could be Billy's.
Yeah, I'm not streaming to Twitch, so that's so intellectually deep. Thank you for your contribution. Wow, I mean, that's an incredibly insightful thought there. Donald Trump is a new Hitler. I never have imagined that. Gosh, I know worldview. Not.
Yeah,
anyway.
we're gonna go off air now, guys, and just rethink this.
Yeah, right now we got to rethink. So going back to what you were saying, Todd, the thing about we talked about Art Bell in the past. Art Bell was a legend in radio, and anybody that's paid attention to late night radio knew Art Bell. And I noticed the thing about Art Bell, when he did something, he brought in subject matter experts and interviewed them. He never elaborated as if he was a subject matter expert. He interviewed people and allowed them to elaborate on what they had to talk about. And if they were gone and a caller called in and says, "Oh, I wanted to ask him this question," he'd say, "Well, I'm sorry you missed him," but he wouldn't take the role. He may say as far as, "Well, in accordance to what I've heard him say in the past," and that would be the extent of it. But he probably wouldn't even go that far most times. He goes, "Well, you have to catch him next time when he comes on, and we'll try to get you to ask that question."
Right.
You see other people that replaced them, and it's a different story. Now they become the subject matter experts on the people they interview, and it's like, something's wrong with that picture.
Right. Well, look, there's nothing wrong with a social commentator or a social media person or even a legacy broadcast person who engages and stays things, but they have to have the background or the experience and understanding. Look, Laura Ingraham is pretty switched on when it comes to politics. She'll admit when she doesn't know something, but she's pretty switched on. I mean, there's others out there that actually know what they're talking about, but a lot of these people just utter nonsense. I mean, I see so many things in print that are fobbed off as news, but they're simply op-ed. They're people's opinions, and they're not backed by any facts. And it's usually emotional opinion, and it's usually leftists attacking the right. I mean, the right sometimes, but almost always the left. Todd, you're going to jump in.
No, basically, just watch what you said. I love interviewers. Caravan to Midnight. You and I've been on there a few times. He'll pose a question or he may make a comment, but he doesn't try to pretend like he's the subject matter expert on what you pose a question and let you answer it. And I love people who interview like that way instead of just trying to be like, let's say Sean Hannity, who's the expert on everything. He knows everything. There's a difference right there.
But what he knows is roofing and Donald Trump.
Yeah, right.
That's what he actually knows. Yeah, no, I've had a hard time watching Hannity for years. Again, back when Alan Combs was alive, that was a pretty incredible show, Hannity and Combs.
Right, Hannity and Combs.
Now Alan Combs had a hard time getting a word in edgewise, but when he did, it was really good. And he's a leftist, but he passed away, and that show ended before that. But I thought that was a brilliant show, Hannity and Combs. But anyway, that's it's so. Look, the ceasefire is a week old. We've got a week left, and we're back to kinetic action if things don't change. The blockade is taking place, and for the listeners who don't know, the blockade is not illegal. It's an act of war. We're in war. It's not declared yet, but the Iranians declared on us 47 years ago. So finally, a president with the cojones is actually, taking action from a country that's been attacking us in a war for 47 years. But this blockade. Apparently, we are uncovering more and more of the shadow fleet that moves Iranian, Russian oil all over the planet. We're discovering more and more ships. At least 6 have been turned back that were shadow ships in the shadow fleet, having filled up with oil in Iran to go to China. China. So now they've been stopped. Also, we find out that a lot of what the Iranians were doing was simply propaganda. Trying to mislead the world that the straits were mined entirely. It wasn't safe to transit there, when in fact there's virtually no mines that they found out there. And so that was a bit of a bluff. And the U.S. Navy now has total control of the Strait of Hormuz. There are a massive number of ships sitting right outside in the Gulf of Oman. And if a ship comes through and it's not supposed to, they've been turning back. But meanwhile, the U.S. Navy is allowing, under Central Command, allowing those ships that are making port calls in Dhahran, in Kuwait City, and in Abu Dhabi, and places like that, they're able to exit and enter the strait. The problem is that some of these shadow fleet guys, we don't know who they are when they slip in. But when they come out, they stop them.
Right. Well, that's good. That's smart. Allowing, the economy and trade, commerce, etc., to continue in those areas that are not in war with us or in league with Iran. That's smart. I like that.
So, John, let me ask you this question. President Trump has been very vocal, quite vociferous, about his anger with NATO. But my position on this, and I want to hear your take, is that this is not an Article 5 issue. We were already at war, but we weren't in the war. Like Iran for 47 years. But we launched this attack. It was our choice to do it, and we went with the Israelis, no one else. So it's not an Article 5 situation like it was after 9/11, where NATO allies jumped in to join us in the fight globally. So it's okay if we go alone. The problem I have with this, with President Trump, is that he's attacking NATO countries here. My view, this is not a NATO problem. It's a European Union problem. European Union countries need the oil. Germany gets about 7% of its oil from the Persian Gulf. Italy, 22%. Ireland, 21% of its oil coming from there. And France gets about 18%. So these countries need that oil, and they're European Union members. The European Union is not taking action, and I think Trump should be castigating the European Union and not NATO. There's a distinction there. I don't know if most people see it. John, do you see it, or do you agree or disagree with what I say?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not overly familiar. And since we talked about experts and all that stuff, I can't say I'm an expert in what on the rules of NATO and stuff like that. But I think you sound like you're in it.
Well, this is an example of somebody that's been there and done that actually can talk about those topics. Not to toot my own horn, but no, it's a situation, in my view, and that's an opinion, that the president should be directing his anger at Brussels. But there's two institutions in Brussels. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization has an embassy there, has a headquarters, and has embassies to it there, and the European Union. And I think we should be focused on the European Union. I don't know if you know this, but John, we have 3 ambassadors stationed in Belgium. one to NATO, one to Belgium, and one to the European Union.
No, see, I did not know that, but I do know that I do think that if Trump is doing something to affect Europe, it might be because he said, you could jump in here and help out a little bit because they're attacking, they're stopping the flow of oil. So since they didn't want to participate, he might be saying, well, if it affects you, it affects you. Maybe you want to get over here and help now. I don't know. Like you said, I do understand Article 5, and this isn't a calling for Article 5, but Trump did ask for some assistance on escorting and protecting commercial ships. And I do understand from international law that I have read that Iran has been violating committing war crimes when they've been attacking commercial ships. Every ship that they've attacked was a war crime against these countries.
Yeah, well, that's. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, so European Union countries could get involved and just provide, hey, we're neutral in the conflict. We're just going to provide security for these ships who are not belligerents through the Straits of Hormuz. Make sure you don't attack us or them, and everybody's fine. I think that would be warranted. I think they could have gotten involved to that level without engaging on one side or the other.
No, that's a fair point. I think that's a fair point.
They might have had a point too. Trump did engage us on his own and didn't involve them, and he might have went to NATO and had talks. But I can't disagree with him though, because it's gotten to a situation in this world. Who do you trust? There's so many people leaking stuff out there that if he had done that, would they have gone to Iran and said, "Hey, you might want to be aware of this guy"?
No, 100%. That's the problem. That's during the Cold War. We never gave the Germans our best secrets because we discovered that every secret we gave to the German military and the German government was betrayed from spies from East Germany back to the Stasi and from there to the Soviet Union. So we couldn't trust the Germans during the Cold War. And I don't think they didn't really realize that. They thought we were giving them classified information. We gave them stuff that was not of much importance because we discovered that. It was crazy. In this situation here, I don't think we should trust the European allies. They've proved to be unreliable in so many areas and so many issues. They seem to have more Trump derangement syndrome than common sense. And again, to me, it's a European Union issue. European Union countries have military arrangements outside of NATO, inside the European Union. They could have sent ships. They're the ones that rely on this oil. Their economies will collapse. And it's even worse in Asia. You see South Korea, China, Japan, overly dependent on oil from the Persian Gulf. And it's not the United States it's dependent on, and these people are not stepping up. What kills me, John, is when these people talk about, this war was unnecessary, yada, yada, yada. Well, with Iran just weeks away, by their own admission, by the way, you can't trust these people at all. We have no enriched uranium. We don't have a nuclear weapons program. It's all for peaceful use. And then as they go to the negotiations before the conflict started, we have 435 kilograms of enriched uranium at 60%. Want to see it? And so they have it. And then, now, and here's the thing. We have no nuclear ambitions of warfare. We are not threatening our neighbors. Yet the talks in Pakistan broke down because Iran agreed to cease their nuclear weapons program for 5 years. How can they cease the non-existent nuclear weapons program for 5 years? The Trump administration was going to let them do it for 20 years, which is insane. You just bomb them into smithereens until they give the stuff up. But, these people are unreliable.
Here's my problem with the ceasefire deal. You can't trust these people. They already agreed that they weren't going to be enriching uranium for weaponry. Right. And yet they did it anyway. They tried to hide it underground. They're going to do it anyway. If you don't destroy them, you've got to finish the job. You've got to destroy this regime. Otherwise, they're always going to come back. But what's worse, if you half-step this, it's like business. If you start a company and you get halfway to your success point where you're going, wow, we're going to be profitable. We're halfway there. So let's cease operations. You're not going to be successful and have a successful business. You're not going to be profitable. If we cease operations and we don't see this through to the end, it may be 10 years. It may be 15 years. These people hold a grudge. They are coming back, and they're coming back with a vengeance.
Well, I could give an even more apropos example here. You know that I don't follow the NFL much anymore because of Colin Kaepernick's anti-patriotic bilge. But I did try to keep an eye on the Colts this season, who were 8-2. But they didn't finish the job. They finished 8-9, losing 7 consecutive games to finish the season off.
Yeah, that's horrible.
So, I mean, that's like coasting to the finish line. Not quite. That was horrible. Right. That's a good example of, the same sort of thing, just coasting to the finish line. And meanwhile, we've got countries like the United Kingdom that's betraying us. Sir Keir Starmer undermining us. You can't trust that guy with anything. I'm sure he would have picked up the phone. Look, I mean, quite frankly, the Anglo-Celtic caliphate is in effect. with hundreds of Muslims attacking the sacred ground of the Anglican churches in London and doing prayer on church property. But
Right.
gosh forbid, somebody say something, in the UK, they're indoctrinating children into Islam in schools, but you can't teach Christianity in schools. This is insane. Absolutely insane.
Right.
Well, the
And-
Pope
and-
was up there basically defending Islam, wasn't he? When
Right.
he was criticizing Trump.
Yep.
But Great Britain, they have their own church, the Anglican Church. It's a state-sponsored religion. The king's the head of the church. Why would he allow something like this? I know he fancies himself the keeper of the faith versus the faith, as it used to be called, right?
Is he also the keeper of the Wiccan faith? I'm curious.
Right, but he wants to be the keeper of all faiths, not just the traditional Christian values and stuff. Blah blah blah. Anyway,
Well,
sorry.
Sausage fingers won't be around much longer. He's not great
that's
health.
true.
The irony that's while
Sausage
we're
fingers no longer.
criticizing, isn't the church really just dying? I mean, isn't that why they're flying the rainbow flag? Is because they're just trying to find anybody to fill their pews anymore? I mean, now I'm not trying to be hard about people that are gay. I'm just saying they've kind of folded on something there. They're worshiping the sin, and instead of bringing people
like
in to worship God, you know what I'm saying?
Kind of like a business that tries all sorts of gimmicks to get people to show up and be loyal. Gimmicks don't get people to be loyal. People show up for the gimmick just to see what the gimmick's all about, and then they move on. Religion's not a gimmick here, folks. It's either a faith, a belief system, or it's nothing. There's no gimmick to it. And trying to fly a rainbow flag to get people in it isn't going to work. You're not going to get people that's going to be faithful to what the tenets of religion or Christianity is all about. You're just not going to. I'm sorry.
Right. You don't attack people to tell them not come in because they are gay, but yet at the same time, you don't worship the sin. You don't say, oh, here, you know what? Throw aside the Christ flag and here's a rainbow flag. I'm sorry, that doesn't fly for me. Something's not right with that.
Right.
Well, in the next hour, we'll talk more about the Iran conflict. We'll also probably go back to our favorite congressman, Fang Fang, and discuss that a little bit. But we're running out of time in this hour. So, Todd, is there anything you want to bring up in the second hour of tonight's program?
I want to just touch on really briefly at some point some local elections. We just started early voting today or yesterday, I think, in Tennessee, or today. One of the two. I get them confused. They run together. Early voting started today. We have a primary in May. I just want to touch on that real quick if I can later on.
All right, sounds good. The California primaries are in June, and the Democrats trying to steal those seats. We'll talk more about that a little bit next hour. John, Todd's always putting you in a spot with New Hampshire. Anything you want to tell about in the second hour about New Hampshire before the end of the hour comes?
Oh, I don't know. We got on some of my favorite subject matter earlier. We may get back on that a little bit. This Nick Fuentes and Turncoat Media and stuff like that. But yeah, no, man, I'm good right now. I think we got top of the hour break.
There it is. All right, we'll catch you next hour. Folks, going to start our own network called Turncoat Radio.
Broadcasting from 200 Main Street in the beautiful and historic Masonic Building. This is WSMN 1590 AM and WSMN 95.3 FM Nashua. Streaming live at wsmn.live.
USA Radio News, I'm Anthony Lucero. President Trump says the war with Iran is very close to over, telling Fox Business that if the U.S. withdrew now, it could take Iran 20 years to rebuild.
I don't know how much longer they can survive. I don't know how much longer they can go because they've been hit very hard.
He believes Iran wants a deal very badly while negotiations continue. 3 more San Diego-based naval warships are arriving in the Middle East to support a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz.
Those ships are part of the amphibious ready group led by the San Diego-based assault ship USS Boxer. Included are the amphibs Portland and Comstock, with combat-ready Marines from Camp Pendleton. The aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln Strike Group, which includes the destroyer USS Spruance, are already in place. The USS Pinckney, a guided missile destroyer, is in the region. Navy Navy intelligence indicates with the arrival of those amphibious ships, that puts at least 27 naval vessels, roughly 40% operating at sea worldwide in the region. I'm Phil Farrar.
President Trump says gas prices will likely remain high or even rise slightly by the midterms, which is a concern for Republicans. As Texas strategist Vinny Manchillo says, voters are focused on costs.
I think it is a problem. Right now, economy is the number one issue for everyone.
Economic advisor Kevin Hassett notes higher prices benefit domestic oil producers. King Charles and Queen Camilla will visit the United States on April 27th through May the 2nd, starting in Washington, D.C., with stops in New York, Virginia. And Charles is set to address a joint session of Congress. That'll be on April 28th, becoming only the second British monarch to do so. Wall Street closed with stocks mixed.
At the closing bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 72 points. The S&P 500 climbed 55 points. And the Nasdaq soared 376 points. I'm Sarah Lee Kessler.
From America's News Network USA, Radio News.
Maybe this is you too. There's enormous frustration right now with healthcare costs. It is amazing. Healthcare costs for families in the last 20 years have almost tripled, and it just keeps getting worse. All this to say, this is why MediShare is so in demand right now. People are looking for alternatives, and MediShare is proven. You can save thousands of dollars a year and actually like it more. Over 1 million Americans are now part of healthcare sharing, and MediShare is the gold standard. It's trusted, it works. It's been helping people save money and have peace of mind now for 30 plus years. It's not some big impersonal thing either. It's a community of people like you helping each other. So yeah, if you're frustrated too, here's your chance to make a refreshing change. You'll notice the difference as soon as you call. They're easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE 40. 855-SHARE-40.
Tired of wondering where your money really goes? At Mammoth Nation, we built what was missing. The America First Marketplace. Every brand we feature is 100% American owned and operated, rigorously vetted for their values and committed to supporting our Constitution, law enforcement, and the American dream. When you shop with us, your dollar stays in the neighborhood, supporting families, veterans, and charities like Folds of Honor. No more sending your hard-earned money overseas to the companies that don't respect you here. Your dollar reflects your values. Your dollar, your values, your America. Join Mammoth Nation today and be part of building a patriot economy by going to TruckersUnitedForFreedom.com affiliate page and hit that link. American built, America strong. Mammoth Nation.
Hi Nashua, I'm Perry Cataldo from Choice Benefit Services, your local insurance agent that has dedicated himself to all the Medicare plans in New Hampshire. Whether you're just turning 65, new to Medicare, or already have a plan, I'll explain all your Medicare options and extra benefits that you hear so much about. I ensure you're getting all you're entitled to and all that you deserve. Nashua, don't get fooled again this year. Call Perry Cataldo at 603-461-5550. That's 603-461-5550. Or visit me online at cbsnh.com. That's cbsnh.com. I look forward to hearing from you. And remember, health is wealth.
Continuing the legacy started in 1904, Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument Incorporated continues to provide the same high-quality monument, custom headstone, and stoneworking craftsmanship today that they built their reputation on over 100 years ago, servicing Nashua, New Hampshire, as well as nearby areas in Massachusetts, such as Lowell, Billerica, Chelmsford, and beyond. From creating custom monuments to memorialize, to landscaping and granite work or restorative services, each job is done to your satisfaction and is backed by decades of experience and integrity. If you're thinking about stonework, think Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument. Visit online at gatecitymonument.com. Stop by and meet Roger at 321 West Hollis Street in Nashua, or call 603-883-7141. That's 603-883-7141. Gate City Monument, memorials of distinction for people who care.
The views and opinions.
That Viceroy picture get up there.
Yeah, I saw that Viceroy. We got the Viceroy here.
Viceroy of Greenland. Yeah.
I was thinking that earlier. What happened to that whole conflict going on with Greenland? I'm looking at that image going, I'll throw it up last second.
Well, there's a Canadian officer in the course that I'm working with right now, senior officer, and we were talking about things. And somebody said something. They misspoke. They said Greenland. It wasn't the scenario. They misspoke, and everybody kind of laughed. And during the break, I told the Canadian officer, "You can let Ottawa know that I've already put my hat in the ring with Trump to be the Viceroy of Greenland, and if Canada takes over, I'd still like to be the Viceroy."
Yeah, let me remain as Viceroy. You get a different sash, right?
Exactly.
That's funny. I love
The
it.
American Viceroy for Canada and Greenland, right? So how about that Alberta, man? They're still pumping away at that.
What's that? They're pumping away at what?
Didn't they vote
secession.
the other day or something like that?
Well,
Or
they
their
got the
vote,
votes
or-
they needed for secession, to move forward, but they're tied up with the Native Americans, the indigenous
First
people.
Nations.
First Nations, thank you.
Yeah.
And so they got them tied up in court because they, some of their land, the reservation, I guess they call them reservations up there too, I don't know, but they belong in Alberta, but they also belong in other parts of Canada, and they have treaties with Canada. So if Alberta secedes, it may become problematic with their treaties. So they're having issues, and they got this all tied up in court as a constitutional issue for Canada.
Mm-hmm. I would just honor the agreement and move on. That's what I would do.
That's what I thought. Give them the same treaties. Like, here you go.
Yeah,
We're all
same
happy.
treaty and move on. Of course, you probably the First Nations are probably want to negotiate a better treaty with Alberta than the same treaty, which makes sense. I would imagine.
Well, the loss of Alberta would be devastating to Canada. It's for so many ways, not the least of which you'd have to cross international borders to get one side of the country or the other, because you're not going to go all the way up here to Nunavut and come back down. It just isn't going to work. So, and if they were to join the United States, all the more insult to injury. Canada would not be happy.
They're so oil rich and stuff. They have so many minerals and oils and things that Canada benefits from. To lose Alberta would be a huge loss for Canada.
Indeed. Well, and then we wouldn't have the excuse the Democrats have about the Keystone XL pipeline, because their argument was it crosses international boundary, not if Alberta's part of the United States.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think they're looking to become for statehood here in the U.S.
But it would be interesting. I mean, also it would be more beneficial to them from a commercial standpoint to join the U.S. I imagine, right, Colonel?
Yeah, they could just create their own bilateral trade treaty with very favorable terms with the U.S. I mean, that would work out well for them too.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't see this happening, but it is fascinating. Remember, some places oftentimes were separate. Australia was 6 separate colonies. The continent, including Tasmania, had 6 independent colonies that almost never interacted back in the day. Not until the 20th century they began to interact, and they never really pushed for statehood. I mean, to be an independent country. And in fact, they're still under the king's control. They're part of the Dominion. But the Australians were once 6 different colonies. So I mean, do the same thing here. Alberta could break away, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. That's for sure. They're talking about it, but just not going to happen. But what we do see happening is Democratic lawmakers in the House of Representatives are making foolish efforts to impeach. This time they're going after Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, and their argument is weak, to say the very least. They're talking about he has violated the law of armed conflict and targeting civilians. He has not targeted civilians. That's a lie. Negligence and reckless handling of military information. That's going back to when he was using Signal, an unclassified manner. That might have some merit to it. Obstruction, congressional oversight. No, they just don't like the answers he gives, so they're calling it obstruction. Abuse of power and politicization of the armed forces. Well, that's not a crime. He's not done that. And conduct bringing disrepute upon the United States and its armed forces. I don't know what that conduct's supposed to be. But Pentagon spokesperson Kingsley Wilson dismissed it and said, this is just another Democrat trying to make headlines as Department of War decisively and overwhelmingly achieve the president's objectives in Iran. Secretary Hegseth will continue to protect the homeland and project peace through strength. This is just another charade, an attempt to distract the American people from the major successes we've had here at the Department of War. And I would agree wholeheartedly with that.
Yeah.
But they accuse him of striking civilians and a girls' school in Minop. Well, no, the girls' school was on a naval base. The targeting set wasn't updated. That's not a crime by Pete Hegseth. That's an error by the Navy, and it's unfortunate. But when you build a military base and then convert a building that's on a military base for civilian use and don't label it, well, that's your own problem, unfortunately.
It is very unfortunate. Right now what's happening is the left's trying to drop a lot of shade on the right any way they can, because it's a midterm election and they're trying to make the right look as bad as they possibly can to get people in there. They got to get that undecided vote. that independent vote. And so if they can find those people in the middle that can flip-flop either way, that's what they want to do to try to win this election. So by dropping all the shade they can and bringing it into view, then they're hoping to win this midterm election to take the House and the Senate. Then they can be obstructionists to Trump for his last 4 years or 2 years.
Well, John, if I were to ask you, who is the last group of people that want to see the Iran conflict end in the U.S.? Who doesn't want it to end?
Iranian Americans don't want it to end. They
want them wiped out. But who would prefer to see American service members killed, the war drag on?
Oh, you talking about the left would love to see.
Yeah, the Democrats would absolutely.
So they can capitalize off it.
Right.
Yeah.
They want this war to continue so that it gets closer to the midterms and the prices remain high, and they can blame Trump.
Yes.
When in fact the inflation we're talking about is a product of Biden's 4 years in office, when everything doubled in value. So they don't really want this war to end. They profess they do, but the longer it draws out, the better chance they have of winning the election in the fall in their minds. But this is going to backfire on them when this thing ends within a few weeks. And the U.S. not only already has an economy that's healthy and continue to grow. Retail sales are up. Advance orders by factories are up in this quarter, even though this quarter was dominated by a conflict. All that's happening. And when the war ends and the U.S. gets back to business of making money, and jobs also begin to flow from the factories. The capital investment began last year when Trump became president. New factories across the country will begin coming online this summer, some of the early ones, and continue over the next 2 or 3 years. And hundreds of thousands of jobs, many of them in manufacturing, will come online. And then as we get close to November, some of those jobs will be here, and inflation will remain low, and the economy will continue to hum, despite the lies of the left. That is why they don't want this thing to end, because if it ends, then Trump wins. He's got another feather in his cap. Plus, the economy is doing well. And what are they going to complain about? The sky isn't blue enough. I suppose that's the only thing they got left there, Todd.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, they're just they're going to find something to complain about. And you think about the other day, whenever he was talking about the ceasefire, the Democrats were like, "Oh, why are we doing a ceasefire? Why aren't you going in there? Why are you a coward? Why are you a chicken?" You know what I mean? Taco Tuesday, all that. Whatever the case may be, they made fun of the guy, trying to guilt him into going in there, just so they could do what you just talked about. And that's why they want him to push forward, push ground troops in there. They don't care who gets killed, whether it be Iranian or American. They want to be able to win an election, and that's a sad thing.
So if Trump wraps this up in the next 2 to 3 weeks and pulls everything out with a treaty and everything looks good, then you're telling me the left will go, he didn't finish the job. He didn't finish the job. Just like John Grosvenor said on that show that he
did say it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Exactly right. But they never stop. The Democrats in the Senate tried a war powers resolution today, and it failed. They tried to undermine the president. We're not even fighting right now, but they want the ability to stop the president. Senate Democrats' war powers vote failed today after Chucky Schumer vowed to flood the floor with such measures until the war in Iran ends or the upper chamber limits President Trump's military authority. Senator Tammy Duckworth, an Army veteran who wears that as if it's some badge of honor that she deserves lots of special treatment for. Her resolution failed 47 to 52. Throughout all this miasma, all this mess, this horrible war, where are the Senate Republicans? Months into this war, still no months in this war, 6 weeks, moron. No testimony, no clarity on how it will end. I don't understand. We got clarity on how it's going to end. Are these people dim-witted? Don't the Republicans, when we're at war, don't they know their responsibility? I don't care if they're the same party. Don't know they have the responsibility to get the facts out. Let the American people know what's going on. I know what's going on. Do you know what the goals for this campaign were for CENTCOM? It was to destroy the Iranian Navy, destroy the Iranian Air Force, degrade their air defense capability, give us air dominance, and destroy their missile forces. That is a very clear set of objectives, and almost all of that's been achieved. I don't understand why they're talking about there's no clear things here. It's because they listen to Trump gaslighting them as he's trying to use battlefield deception to confuse the Iranians. Todd, Trump has been using masterful battlefield deception, and almost nobody knows what that is, so they don't even see it when it happens in front of them.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. Whenever he puts out some of those truth socials or truths, whatever they're called, tweets, I think so. I don't get offended by all of it. Sometimes I'm like, I think he's playing a game with somebody on a global scale. You think about it, as soon as you tweet it or truth it, whatever, post it on social media, somebody around the world can see it almost instantaneously. So they're watching this. The Iranians are not stupid people. I want to be clear on that. They have intelligence folks just like we do who are looking at what the president says, trying to parse what he means. And I think they're taking some of the stuff seriously. Like, we're going to wipe an entire civilization off the map. I don't necessarily think he was going to use nukes or anything like that. I think he's like, this will get them to the table. And guess what? We got a 2-week ceasefire after that tweet. It was a little inappropriate, but at the same time, it did have an effect.
Yeah, well, it was effective. That's the thing about Trump. You can't deny that he's effective, whether you
Right.
like him or not. He's very effective, and that's too bad for the left. That just they have that derangement syndrome, and they're not going to come out of the psychosis. It's going to stick with them forever, apparently.
Well, they got low level emotional intelligence. They're just reactionist.
Well,
Yeah,
isn't that the truth? Most of them.
Let me tell a story real quick, and I won't go too in depth. But I was at the local university, at East Tennessee State University, a few years ago, and some folks who worked on my campaign were doing a debate with whatever the leftist club is. Whatever. We'll say Democrat club. I don't remember. But they were debating, the Second Amendment, if you will. And the debate, the people that I was there to support, wiping the floor with these people. And then they got to the point where this girl teared up and goes, well, when does our feelings matter? And everybody goes, never. Facts matter. Your feelings matter to you and your family, but facts matter to everybody else. And she's just bawling and like, it's not fair. And they're like, facts are fair. They may just not be in your favor, but facts are fair. The truth is just the truth. And if it hurts you, too bad. Sorry. Then they lost the debate for sure. The crying girl did. So
To answer a question, feelings matter to a 6-year-old.
Yeah, right.
Don't
People
matter
who
to
care.
adults.
People who care about you. If you've been wrong and you're crying about something, you lose a family member. That's perfectly valid. But over something that's stupid like gun control, whenever you're on the wrong side of the policy and the issue and the Second Amendment, your feelings don't matter at that point. I'm sorry. Move on.
Well, yeah. No, that's but feelings. Oh.
He's gonna have another song about that, right?
Couldn't resist. Yeah. Well, look, speaking of feelings, Trump loves the stock market. He loves to hail it, even though when he has nothing to do with it going up. But what can we say? The Standard & Poor's 500, S&P 500 hit a record high today as U.S. stocks recover from a previous sell-off. So we've got the benchmark index jumping by 0.8% or 55 points to 7,022 at the close. It surged more than 3% over the past week and up by 2.5% this year. Technology stocks were also rallying. The Dow Jones Industrial Average stayed about the same at 48,463. But this also, look, I mean, a stock market is not a reflection of an economy because it can trail or lead an economy by a wide margin. But very encouraging stuff. And why? Because millions of Americans have 401k plans. Millions of Americans have Roth IRAs or traditional IRAs, and they're drawing these things out. And what's happening is they're seeing the value of their portfolio soar, which is good news. It's good news.
Yeah.
But
Love it. Yeah.
some people don't like it. They hate capitalism. But those people need to be horsewhipped in public. I mean, taken out back and thrown out there.
Horsewhipped in public. I was for that. Time for the whipping post, Chris.
Capitalism is so unfair. Why am I not a multi-millionaire or a billionaire? I see so many of them on TV and on the news. Why aren't I? It's so unfair. Wait a minute. I get to sit in a nice little home office here, talk to you guys over social media on an Apple computer. I got my iPhone over here. I got all kinds of nice little things that capitalism and our brand of economy and government has allowed me to be able to purchase those things and enjoy my life. Far richer than any king or emperor in history. You know, if you go back far enough, far better than anybody, a Holy Roman Emperor. I live far better than they ever did, for sure. I have more safety, security. I can go more places than they can around the world, for crying out loud. I mean, think about it. We live far better than kings and emperors from the days of old. And we still cry about it. I'm sorry. Enough of the crying and pouting. Enjoy what you have.
I don't have a bunch of gold hanging off my neck and a big scepter. And
you're not gaudy either, my friend.
but yeah, no, you got a good point. We do get a bath every day.
Yeah, right. Nice job.
All my gold is buried in a lockbox in the back. Oh, crap. I just said that out loud.
Uh-oh. You gotta move
Is it exactly 20 paces straight out your back door?
Yeah, I'll wake up on Saturday morning and my backyard will look like somebody's done demolition work out there digging holes for depth charges or something like that.
This just in. X marks the spot, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look, I don't know what to say about that. That's it's an absolutely crazy world. One of the viewers just asked, is Hungary lost? Of course, Viktor Orban this week on Sunday famously lost after 16 years in power. He'd previously been in power for 2 years before. So 18 years in government, and he's out on his ear. And it wasn't just a loss. It was a shellacking, guys. The opposition party, Tizar, wound up with 138 seats or 135, somewhere around that. Yeah, and that's the same or a couple more than the ruling party had. They only got 55 seats in this 193 seat chamber. So they have really been beat back. Can you imagine going from a majority in a 193 seat body, and now you have just 55 seats? That's insane. What a massive drop from 130 plus down to 55. They were obliterated at the polls. But everyone's like, oh, this is defeat for the MAGA and for Trump. He's such good friends with Trump. Yeah, well, wasn't Meloni such great friends with Trump, and now she's distancing herself, and she's using the excuse of the Pope. So the Italians are pulling back from Trump, and it has nothing to do with Trump. It has everything with domestic politics in Italy.
There you go, domestic politics. I mean, think about how many people in Italy are Catholic, for crying out loud. Also, you have the Vatican City right there in the middle of Rome. Right, the seat of the Pope is right there. You're going to be very careful if you want to play domestic politics in Italy when it comes to Catholicism. I mean, that's what she's doing there. That's smart.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I can't argue that. Yeah. That's exactly what's happening. But domestic politics always trumps. I mean, in 2013, when it was early 2014, actually, when Uganda's parliament passed the anti-homosexuality law, which was unnecessary. They had a law in the books already. It was already a crime, but just not a serious crime. They made a very serious crime. And Barack Obama, he after winning his re-election, had to give a payback to the gay community, which supported him in his second election run. After the first time when they turned their backs on because he opposed gay marriage, and suddenly he was for it before he was against it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Hillary Clinton, the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So he flip flops on that whole thing, and what happens is that Uganda passes this law. And for domestic purposes, to show a payback, although the link makes no sense. You're protecting gays in Uganda. What's that got to do with the homosexual community in America? Anyway, so Obama starts making noise and squawking about the homosexuality law in Uganda. And here we are trying to influence stuff there. I don't know if the audience knows this, but if you know anything about Africa, if you want to ensure that you have a losing argument, try to promote homosexuality in deeply conservative Africa, where people are either Christians or Muslims for the most part, and people of deep faith. But they try it and they get away with it. So anyway, but Obama turned a mountain into a molehill there, and scuppered our relations with Uganda for a number of weeks. And it took a lot of diplomatic effort to get that stuff back on board. Yep. So is Hungary lost? Yes, I think it is. Viktor Orban's departure isn't the problem. Not being replaced by somebody of his own ilk or his own party is the problem. And I think that unfortunately Hungary's on a bad path going forward, which is a shame because they've recovered very well from the Soviet occupation over the last 30 years. I'd be sorry to see them go. But, what are you going to do? If people vote for the other party, all you can do is relinquish power unless you want to start a war.
Right. Well, I've got a question for you. And then after this, maybe we can play the Iranian song. But what's your assessment of what's going to happen over the next week? And then, of course, after the ceasefire is lifted, what does it look like? I know you talked about it a little bit ago, but I mean, what's the assessment here?
Well, it's really hard to say because it's hard to read Trump's mind on this, but I anticipate that if the ceasefire is not extended and if it ends, that we will move to isolate Iran even further. But what's going to happen is that the 60 days in the War Powers Act is coming up, and the members of Congress are going to start squawking. You can't do this, you can't do that. I suspect Trump will try to rely on the post 9/11 authorization of force because Iran is a state sponsor of terror. And he'll make the argument, but that's a thin argument. But by the time they get to
an argument at all, Chris, because that is only they list certain terrorist states, and Iran was never part of that.
I know that, John. What I'm saying, he's going to list that as his excuse, and then someone's going to take him to court. And by the time it's decided, the conflict will be over, and it'll be a fait accompli.
Is that even still in effect? I mean, did they get rid of
No,
that?
I think it's sunsetted a couple of years ago.
I thought so too.
Yeah, what I'm saying, he's probably going to cite it. Doesn't mean he's going to be right.
So how many times in history have presidents done what Trump has done and exceeded the 60-day limit?
I don't know because the War Powers Act only came in 1973. I don't think anyone ever has.
Korea was never officially declared, or Vietnam.
But the War Powers Act came after that. Yeah.
Right. No. Okay. I thought you were talking about just in history. Okay. Sorry.
No. In relation to the War Powers Act with the 60 days
my
and then
bad.
the
Yeah,
90
sorry.
days. No, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
for clarity's sake. I'm not aware of it ever happening. I mean, Grenada was done in a matter of hours. Just Cause in Panama was done in a week. Desert Storm got an authorization to force, and so I mean, Somalia was another one that had an authorization. So I don't know if it's ever happened. I don't think anyone's ever violated that.
Well, there's the first time for but he does have 90 days. Technically, he's got 60 days for action, 30 days for withdrawal.
Right.
The question is, can he extend past those 60 days and use some of those 30 days for some of his action before he completely withdraws? Because he really doesn't have much to withdraw. It's not like we have ground troops.
Well, that's true. So he could make the argument, what withdrawal? They're afloat. They're not on the ground. They're not.
Right.
Yeah. So
and they're in international waters, and then they're
Right.
supposed to be out at sea right now anyway. If I'm not
Right.
mistaken.
So I mean, so he can make a very strong argument, but the moment the troops engage, something happens. Well, it's going to be a different story. But look, this just needs to be sorted out. It really needs to be sorted out. These people are evil, and I think we pretty much all agree that they should be bombed back into the Stone Age.
I
mean,
I would
their
like to see. I would
ideologies
like to
from the
see a
Stone
change of
Age.
power in Iran as a result of this, because I think it'll benefit at least Western civilization a lot better if they had the regime change. But what does that look like? Because there's different factions in Iran, just like other places in the Mideast. So do they start fighting among themselves, and do we have like a civil war going on after the fact? And does it get worse?
Well, it's a very real possibility. I mean, everything's on the table right now, and part of the reason we don't know better is because the only people that know better are people with multi-billion-dollar censors out there, like the U.S. government. We don't have those insights. There aren't reporters on the ground. There's a blackout of social media, so we're not seeing what's really happening here. So who knows? But that's the problem. These governments don't want to let go of their grip on power. They want to hold on to things, and that's why they do this. I mean, and frankly, those should all be oversized, stuffed animals back there. But just kidding. Anyway, little diatribe there. Anyway, so this impeachment effort for Hegseth, Todd, any thoughts on that?
I have my issues with old Pete Hegseth, but I don't know that he's done anything to necessarily be impeached for. I mean, I think the president, if he gets to a point when he needs to get rid of somebody, the president will get rid of him with no problem. And Hegseth will thank him for the time in office and move on and write a book, and who knows what he'll do after that. But I don't think he's going to be impeached.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. What about yourself, John? Any thoughts on that so-called effort to impeach him?
No belief that the political right is going to side with the left to impeach Hegseth. I think Hegseth is doing an excellent job for the most part. He's really a strong participant with the Trump administration. He's a good piece of backbone for Donald Trump. Trump doesn't want to lose him. I don't think the political right wants to lose him, and the left isn't strong enough to put forth an impeachment. Johnson probably won't even submit it.
Yeah. I think he's over his head.
It's bluster.
I think he's over his head as Secretary of Defense, though. I don't think he's quite the best guy for the job. But like you said, for President Trump, he's doing what he wants him to do. And I guess for a cabinet secretary, that's what a president wants. Do what I want you to do.
I think he's getting the job done for the most part. Yeah, maybe he's not the most qualified, but he seems to be getting the job done, and he's got backbone for it. He's willing to stand up for it, regardless how the left want to color the guy. They try to make him out to be some kind of drunkard or something, or out of control. And so what? He's got Iron Cross on his chest. Do they know what the Iron Cross comes from? You know what I mean? It's like, so they tried to blame him for having Nazi symbols, but the Iron Cross goes way back before Nazism.
No, the Iron Cross
give me a
is
break
not-
with the nonsense.
Our American marksmanship badges have basically what is an Iron Cross there. I mean, it's so stupid. A sharpshooter, the expert, is an Iron Cross right in there. If you look at it, the Army qualification badges for, say, your M4 Iron Cross. That's what it looks like, or probably really what it is, right? An Iron Cross based on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was a positive symbol. I forget where it came from. I want to say, wasn't it Sweden or not Sweden? No, I don't remember. Scandinavian country or something
Maybe,
like that. Originally,
maybe
it had
Celtic or something. I don't know.
It had a meaning, and I don't remember all the details any longer. It's like the swastika.
It's
Didn't
not
come
white-
from
it's not
Nazi
white-
Germany. The swastika
not
come
white-
from like Sanskrit, India, and stuff like that, with a whole
Correct.
different religion. And
That's where it came from. It came from India. And what happened is that Hermann Goering used to vacation in Denmark, and it was a prominent symbol because it's also a Nordic symbol of prosperity or something like that. He saw it up there in Denmark and he liked it, so the Nazis adopted it, and it's ruined it ever since. That's unfortunate. Well, we're into the last half hour of tonight's program, folks, and we still got a few things to bring you of interest. Hope you stick around for the last 30 minutes. But this one, I'm curious what you guys think about this, but the Washington Commanders, that's part of that alternative football league, have come out with a uniform with a spear on the helmet in a nod to the former name, the Redskins. But the Washington Post goes to great lengths to say that this imagery could offend some people. I have never met a single Native American who was offended by the Washington Redskins. In fact, they were proud of a tradition of a genuine, image of a famous Indian chief. And so this thing is, they're the Commanders now. So it's just, it's ridiculous. But now they're going to put a spear through spear chuckers, I guess, through the W. Any thoughts on that one, Todd?
Yeah, I mean, go back to what it was, or don't. But don't try to, we're just going to go halfway or a part of the way, just as, to ingratiate the old fans with the new look. Get over yourselves. Go back to the old way or don't. None of this halfway. No, don't go halfway.
Yeah, well, I can't disagree. John?
They could put a Christian cross on that helmet and somebody would complain. They could put a blank white helmet out there and somebody go, why isn't it black? Why isn't it purple? Somebody's going to get angry about something. People are so, like I said, in modern society, people have such a low level of emotional intelligence. They're just not in control of themselves any longer. They're offended by everything, and they need to stop now. I like the Washington Redskins. I thought it was honorary to the American Indians.
It's an actual image of a Native American chief. And most Native Americans were proud of that. Look, I mean, the Indians with Chief Wahoo, and like the Atlanta Braves, doing that hatchet shot.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a cool thing, but some people were, offended by it, I suppose, maybe. But I mean, this calling them Redskins, it's a tribute to Native Americans. It's ironic how stupid the left is, but they destroy everything. I mean, comedy is dead. You can't go to a comedy show because you can't make fun of anybody.
Yeah.
Not even yourself. You get arrested for making fun of yourself in this world.
Well, 15, 20 years ago, it used to be only the comedians got away with some pretty dicey humor. And all of a sudden, you're right, Chris, they turned on them too and said, you can't tell jokes like that. That's racist. It's like, it had nothing to do with the race, bro.
Right. Yeah.
Well, look how they went after Dave Chappelle. I went to Baltimore years ago to watch Chappelle at the Improv there. And he was stoned out of his mind. He couldn't get through the first 10 minutes of his set. And I got up and left. I'm like, whatever. But now Chappelle is hilarious because he's not kowtowing and the left can't control him. And it's kind of blowing their minds. But you notice how all these people on the political left, the moment they step off the reservation, the military reservation, not Native American, that's not a racist comment. the moment they step off the reservation, they become a target. It doesn't matter who they are or what they are. If you are in the way of the democratic machine and their desire for total control to rewrite the rules of this country, then you are a suspect, and they'll come after you, Todd.
For sure, absolutely. Yeah, you have to be careful, and the left's going to find a reason to come after you no matter what. I mean, it doesn't matter. You could be the politest, most nice person. They're going to find some reason to zing you. Well, we know who you voted for. It's like, no, you really don't know who I voted for. Well, they find something to be outraged about. You like the color blue. Oh no, it should be this color. Like John said.
There is a loophole. There is a loophole. You guys realize there is a loophole. You just got to put a D in front of your name on your voter card. Once you become a Democrat, it's okay once you did it.
Right.
Oh, that's a Democrat. That's okay. He can do that.
Apparently you can be a racist, a philanderer. You can be, somebody who rapes women, sexually assaults them, goes out with prostitutes, whatever the case may be. You can be anything that they go after Republicans for, and rightly so, but they won't go after their own side, so which obviously the hypocrites for sure. If you're going to call one person out, call everybody out equally and evenly. But if you're a Democrat, you can get away with it for a certain amount of time. Ask Eric Swallwell.
Well, I mean, the Republicans actually do go after their own people. They eat their own people alive, whether they're guilty or not.
In a lot of ways, trust me.
Yeah, we saw this with what's that guy, Santos in New York, and now we're also seeing it in another case of this too with Tony Gonzalez from Texas, and he's resigned. He apparently forced a subordinate into a sexual relationship, according to the allegations, and he offed himself. No, he did. I'm just kidding. No, he's resigned from the House of Representatives along with Swallwell. And indications are from the reporters in the know that more are coming.
Good. Well, you got to think about it. They had a multi-million-dollar hush money fund, a slush fund, And they never talked about that. Republicans and Democrats both voted to not release that to the public. Don't talk about that. I mean, this is Republicans and Democrats that know it goes on. They know their colleagues that do it. And what's funny is they use it to lord over them, to have them vote a certain way, to vote contrary to whatever they would have normally voted whenever they were initially elected. They use that against them to blackmail them. And then, of course, they use it to get rid of them whenever they need to. It's blackmail money.
You've hit the nail on the head there. I've actually known about this, and I've reported on in the past how they use taxpayer money to let lechers get away with reprehensible conduct.
Yeah.
And you're right. They use that so that they secure votes. They own them. It's as simple as that. They own them.
Precisely. Yeah, I'll be in D.C. on the 28th, 29th. I've got meetings with my senator, one of my senators. It should be interesting. We're going to talk veterans issues and American Legion, stuff like that. But I'll be in D.C. if either you're going to be there during that time frame.
I do not intend to be. I'm just wondering, what size galoshes do you wear? Waist high, knee high? I mean, you're wading through all that
full
crap.
Suit.
Full suit.
Biohazard suit, containment, everything. Mop
Did
gear,
you say
all
the
the good
28th
stuff.
and 29th?
28th, yeah, correct.
All right, that's a Tuesday and Wednesday coming up 2 weeks from now. Okay. Yeah. We'll be back from my trip to this weekend. It's off to Pittsburgh, Columbus, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, and Erie, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
With South African refugees. Well, tell it to my credit card. And then self-funded, there's no compensation for that. And then the following week, I'm down to Virginia. I'll probably leave Thursday and be down there until Monday. So I'll be down at King's Dominion.
Oh, there you go.
A South African event that takes place every year down there. It's called a braai and a potjie. It's like a barbecue get together. And afterwards, I'll go to Richmond, meet South African refugees. So that kind of fills up my dance card for the next 2 weeks. But your event is after that.
Yeah. So also, I saw somebody in the comments here early on talked about you should go out to Phoenix. There's like 6 families out there that want to meet or something. I don't know if you saw that in the comments.
I did see that, but that's not a simple thing. Airfare has become prohibitively expensive.
Yeah,
so I have to
for
be very
sure.
careful about how I do it. My flight to Las Vegas was almost $900. Last time I did it for less than $300. Same trip.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. But it is nice that you have places you can go and visit with people, discuss, get stories and get what their experiences are. I think it's important to document stuff like that. And of course, if there are any issues, you can bring it to light to the appropriate authorities, which I think you've done that recently a number of times, right?
Oh, absolutely. I had a situation where somebody applied for a Social Security number almost 5 months ago, and they can't live off assistance. They're trying to work, and the guy has a job, but he can't be paid. He's in jeopardy of losing it. So
Right.
I actually reached out to the Office of Refugee Resettlement, and I wasn't sure if that influenced the Social Security Administration or if they could do anything, but they took on the case within 2 hours, which was good to hear. It's good to see that sort of thing. But there are a number of people having issues, but others doing fantastic. We had a refugee arrive here in central Pennsylvania Thursday. She didn't even know she was coming to central Pennsylvania until she got to Washington, D.C. Her case officer found out because he was sent a message, and then he was chided for informing her that he was the case officer before she got here. Otherwise, she would have been guessing where she was at. But she arrived on a Thursday. On Friday, she went into the refugee agency in Harrisburg, met with the case officer, and that morning she had her Social Security appointment set up, her medical screening set up, and she had already opened a bank account and taken $200 of the cash assistance and put it in the bank. There you go. So that's the kind of case officer she inherited. Fantastic. So she's in Carlisle right now. I went to see her because she was one of my viewers, and I discovered from talking to her that she also had this job interview set up on a Saturday by her case officer. On my way to talk to her, I was called by the director of the refugee agency in Harrisburg, whom I met previously. He wanted to tell me that there was a South African in town and was wondering if I could go over and see her. I said, well, funny you should ask. I'm on my way. But I mean, that's the kind of experience that a refugee ought to have, not some of these other folks that are having trouble, like with Social Security number and other issues. But so that's gone very well for her. But she's not alone. A lot of refugees are experiencing the same sort of thing.
Good stuff. Somebody said here, South Africans are awesome people. I'll disagree. Some are awesome people, just like in America. Some are awesome, some are not. Some are horrible.
Yeah, we get there's a lot of that going around.
People are people. Where you go, you're right.
Oh,
on
you
that.
got that right. Whatever language, whatever color, religion, people are going to be people. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you should say people are people, because that's what Depeche Mode said. People are people, so why should it be? You and I should get along so awfully. We are different colors and different creeds. Anyway, yeah, Depeche Mode.
Depeche Mode classic.
That was a good song, mid
was.
1980s. I really enjoyed that song. I
So
mean,
can we hear
I
that-
still could, but I haven't listened.
Can we hear the Iranian Navy song again?
Oh yeah, this is the Lament of the Seven Seas, a tribute song to the Iranian Navy.
This is hilarious.
Which
Like a
which
pirate.
I recorded like 3 weeks ago. You know, after the campaign started, and there were no ships left. So here it is, Lament of the Seven Seas.
Once we sailed the seven seas in the Iranian Navy, with a swagger in the breeze. In the Iranian Navy, we could do as we pleased, hearts full of pride and bravado. Once we arrogantly threatened every nation on the breeze. In the Iranian Navy, oh, raise up your glass and sing it loud and wavy for the bold and brave sight of our Iranian Navy. From the Gulf to the foam of the Western Sea, we were masters of the tide and the spray, but the wind has turned and the cannon's gone silent. Who now will answer our plea? Once we ruled the raging foam, now we've no fleet to call our own. In the tacked into the wind with our beards so well trimmed in the Iranian Navy. Steel beneath our boots and salt upon our skin. In the Iranian Navy, our friends invited us to Cape Town, proud and free and bold. Sailors on shore leave at Simonstown. Stories bought and sold. Naval exercises with our friends from Moscow and Beijing. We already missed the brief fling. Our presence made Arab nations tremble. Our blockade made oil prices treble. All together, the bold, brave, mighty sight of our Iranian Navy. Oh, raise up your glass and sing it loud and wavy for the roar and roll of the Iranian Navy. From the straits to the storm-lashed quay, we were thunder on the sea. But the dice were cast and the wager played, and pride went down with the fleet. Now we sing in taverns dim and cold of stories grand and growing old. Then the Iranian Navy, our supreme leaders played chicken with the dawn. Now all our ships are gone, rusting at the bottom of the sea. With whom shall we plea? In the Iranian Navy, mighty no longer sailing a lost dream. We see our song on lament and anger scream. Twisted hoax of metal lie, billowing flames of despair. And a mighty Iranian Navy is no more, just smoke upon the air. We want to surrender, we have no future. We can't even get a dinghy in the water. No harbor light, no guiding star, no compass left to steer us far. So raise up your glass and sing it loud and wave for the ghosts of the Iranian Navy. Though the fleet lies cold beneath the foam, we'll bring to the days we ruled the brine. For once we sailed the seven seas and did as we pleased in the Iranian Navy. Once we sailed the seven seas.
Now you're drowning in it.
Now you're drowning in it.
Once we sailed the seven seas. Iranian Navy.
All right.
Gentlemen, on that note, I have confirmation from the Secretary of War this week that the world's largest submarine force is now the Iranian Navy.
Oh yeah,
I like Trump. They're floating at the bottom of the ocean. I don't think we call that floating, Mr.
Yeah.
President, but
They're
Right, but that's
resting at the
funny,
bottom.
They transitioned their surface fleet to submarines. They did. How did they do that again? Torpedoes,
Missiles.
I see the new Iranian Navy looks like a makeshift thing of Mark Twain's raft, maybe with a little rudder in the back. We go back.
Huck Finn out there.
Yeah, I love it.
Huck Finn and Jim on a raft. Yeah. Anyway, no, I still love that song. It was one of my favorite ones that I put together. It's a nice little Irish limerick there. So, although I tried to do the same with the Fang Fang Farewell, but it was good, but not as good as that one is.
How many do you have out there now? Because you should. Those are great spoof songs. I love it.
I've also done serious songs too and tribute songs. I have over 450 or 60 that I've created, but I've only published I think about 120 of them. So they're not all hits. What I do is I craft the lyrics and the narrative to tell a story, and then I review it and do a little wordsmithing. Then just to see how it comes out, I'll run it through Gemini normally, and then Gemini, I'll take that and I'll plug it into Suno, the AI generator, and I'll give it the genre, the type of music, what I'm looking for, and then whether it's male and female vocals or both, or if I want a chorus in there, and I'll run it, and it'll come out with stuff. So it's pretty good. I mean, it's scary. Skynet is here, guys. I mean, it's creepy.
It's entertaining.
Suno is an awesome app. I play with that as well. You're talking about the advanced section where you're deciding a male or female voice, and they also got a weirdness level and stick with the genre and stuff like that. What was the other one? It's weirdness and something else. But it's so you can blow that thing really out, and it'll get silly on you and really wild. And sometimes you just taper back the weirdness if you want it to be a little bit more calm and serious.
And it's actually gotten much better. I've been an early subscriber of Suno, and early days it was awkward. I actually compose songs in Afrikaans now. I write what I can in Afrikaans, and then I run that through an AI to make sure that I'm grammatically correct. And then I put it in there, and the songs come out, and they sound like South Africans singing it for the most part. The first attempt I did several months back, I just gave it a try, and it was a very short song, just repeated the same verse essentially twice. And the woman that sings it sounds like she's a Dutch lady. But now they sound like Afrikaners from South Africa. It's pretty wild.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, it's funny because I feel a little bit like a hypocrite because this AI stuff come out. My wife's like going, you should check out this AI. It's pretty good. It'll help you write. I'm like, that's disingenuous. I'm not having nothing to do with AI. Here I am.
To be fair, though, I mean, I'm honest about this. I have no musical talent whatsoever. I recognize good stuff, but I have no ability. I can't sing, unfortunately, and I have no musical skills. I can't play instruments. I can't write sheet music. I can't read sheet music, but I know what I like, and I know how to write. And I'm using the skills I have and enhancing them to come out with something that's entertaining and keeps people going. So, I mean, but I do not and would never use AI to answer questions or to do research, serious research. I might do it as a lark to see what it says once I've done my research, and I would never use it to help me write. I mean, I find that very disingenuous.
Actually, there's this guy, Network Chuck, who reminds me of Chris, by the way, some of his personality type and stuff like that, how he presents himself, how he talks and uses.
I thought you were going to tell me he was dead sexy like me.
Well, that's a matter of opinion, and some of the ladies may think so. I don't know, but
some of the guys too. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
He does have. He does all this tech stuff, and he does have a show or an episode where he was taking AI and using all these different so he takes Claude, and he tells Claude employ Gemini, and basically so it takes 4 different AI agents to construct him a show in about 20 minutes. Now, to your point, Chris, he doesn't just take what they do and say, oh, here, my show's all done, and do a show based off it. He takes what they do, then he goes and proofs it and goes through it, makes all his own modifications and stuff. So make sure that everything's on the level, all the details are right, everything's in check, and it's truthful. It's nothing fake, it's nothing phony, and so it becomes his once it's done. So it's kind of like I've done it before where I'm writing something, say, I was working on an exemption request with the FMCSA, which I've yet to complete. But I wanted to create the body with the AI. So I gave it all this information and stuff, and it basically gave me a body to work with. And then you can go back through and start breaking up paragraphs and pulling things back together. So it's in your own wording. It's in your own text.
Sure.
When you're finished.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But I mean, one of the problems I see already one of the things I think is great is people are using I think they're using Gemini, but they're paying for like the enterprise edition is like $500 some a month. But they're making AI songs with avatars and animation that looks realistic, and it's pretty good. But at the same time, people are creating news stories and news content using AI, and it's so lame, it's so fake, and I'm just worried that it gets better. It's people are, the problem with this is that AI is susceptible. It's susceptible to the people that program it, and if they have a woke view of the world, then that's what you're going to get. You're not.
Well,
Gonna
you're going to, because the problem is AI also scrapes the internet. Sometimes it will look stuff up,
all
and so
the
when
time.
it's coming across Google searches, and Google searches, as you know, Google being left leaning, will produce a lot of NBC, MSNBC, and CBS, ABC,
Mhm.
and all these things for news articles. And then somewhere along there, you might find a Fox article.
Oh.
Wow, you're
Oh,
Todd's
Todd disappeared there.
he's an English
Must be-
term. Todd went
It was
wonky.
gre- was grem- was Gremlins.
Yeah, I'm back. I don't know what happened there. Can you hear
The
me?
AI, man,
Todd,
AI's
Todd,
got
Todd,
you.
Wow.
Todd,
Yeah.
don't feed the gremlins after dark. I'm just saying.
No, I don't throw them in water either, you know?
Yeah, don't get water. Yeah. So, one of our viewers keeps mentioning over and over again, Iranian jets scrambled. What Iranian jets? I can't find any story on that. I didn't know they had any jets left.
Yeah, what are they scrambling to do? Get blown up?
I don't know where the source is in this. I
Must
went
be
looking
those-
on Twitter during the break, and
It
I looked.
Must
at
be
news.
those 2-foot drones that can't quite make it across the Gulf.
Yeah, even if they do have maybe some jets still available somewhere hidden, there's not enough that they could ever do much of anything except be shot down. So it's best for them to keep them hidden, out of sight, out of mind. Is probably the best option for them.
Well, the only thing that makes sense to me is if Iranian jets are flying, the pilots would be defecting to Iraq or something like that.
That might be possible. Scramble. Let's get out of here.
Yeah. So Justice Sotomayor has apologized for her comments. Yep. Extraordinary public apology. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor issued an unusual public apology to Justice Brett Kavanaugh, saying remarks she made about his stance on the immigration case were inappropriate and hurtful. The swipe came during a talk at the University of Kansas School of Law last week when she suggested Kavanaugh lacked the life experience to appreciate the potential impacts of his opinion on immigration stops. He probably doesn't really know any person who works by the hour. This is a man whose parents were professionals. Wow. This is the same idiot who said that only I, as a Latina, can understand. Only I can. I'm sorry, there, sweetheart. Your job is not to represent Latinas. Your job is to represent America and interpret the Constitution. The fact that you can't make that distinction makes you unqualified for the court because you just want to race hustle from the bench, which is exactly what that woman's all about, race hustling for the bench. It's really sad to see, but it's the reality, and my live reality and your live reality, because that's what she is, a woke tart. And it's good that she apologized, but a better thing I think would be for her to resign from the bench.
Yeah, right. But yeah, right. You're absolutely correct. Especially now, while we have the opportunity to replace her with somebody that's like Kavanaugh, maybe more reasonable. You know what I mean? Somebody who understands the actual Constitution and the role of a justice. It's not like you said, to represent this group or that group. It's to interpret the Constitution and make basically sound decisions based on the Constitution. And that's it. Leave the rest alone.
Well, you would think that that's what it would be, but it seems
Right.
to me that sometimes they like to legislate from the bench. We've mentioned that plenty of times on this show. Or you find judges that way back, remember in the 70s when abortion was big, and certain judges were left leaning and they were pounding a gavel on certain constitutional rights that didn't exist.
Right. Well, that's true. It's. I mean, I don't know. Say it's harder today to make a bad decision, get away with it, because they do all the time. But now with technology, and of course, like we said, where you can upload something in 2 seconds and it's around the world, almost instantaneously. It's harder to do those things and not be called out on it. At least, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To things being brought to everybody's attention. Back in the 70s, unless some newspaper reporter hit on it, you're probably never going to know about it.
Yeah, no, back in the day it was easier, but we also discovered Operation Mockingbird was a real thing. We had no propaganda machine here in the United States. It's like, oh crap, we've been played too. But that's the interesting thing. So we become aware of it. And so now folks like us do our own thing. Some people gravitate to us. Some people still gravitate to mainstream media. But, there's people like ourselves that are trying to get some truth out there. And going back to what Chris was talking about, the scrambling of the jets, somebody did say that was on a YouTube channel, and that's the only place I could find it. I am finding that there is a lot of misinformation and disinformation on social media these days.
Oh, big time. I'll scroll
horrible.
through YouTube and, watch funny videos, watch documentaries and, podcasts, whatever. And then you'll get to the things that are obviously AI. It's like, U.S. submarine being towed into Norfolk was struck by torpedo. It's like, and it looks really real. And it looks like a news article. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And they'll have reports and everything like, a U.S. ship was hit by a torpedo. I'm like, this never happened. But the reporting looks so well. And people put that on their social media thinking that it's real. It's like, that's not really happening, folks. That's not real.
It's like Chris says, probably AI generated purposely to be clickbait to get you there. So you click on them and give them that click. And you give them that click and they get the little penny or whatever in there.
I try not to. But if it looks really good, I have on occasion watched them just to see the artwork, see how good this stuff is. And there are instances where it's like, okay, that's stupid. That doesn't work there. There's not a jet that should be on the back of a submarine. They'll get it wrong sometimes. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, I know that was one of the problems with the AI early on. Gemini's got much better now, but they refuse to do certain pictures, especially if you want to attack politicians. But so I looked this up about the scrambling jet thing. It's on this website from this YouTube account from a guy named David Hookstead. And someone says here about him, to my knowledge, he's never served in the military, has no war strategic studies education. His understanding of geopolitics is horrendous, and his entire understanding of anything military related is secondhand. He genuinely has no understanding about the military works or how it is. It's extremely irritating how someone can be this ignorant on topics but presents himself as an expert on the matter or just inserts himself into everything. Who's actually watching him? Well, I can tell you who's actually watching him. The guy's got 410,000 subscribers, and he gets 80,000, 342,000, 862,000 views on videos. And apparently, according to this person watches, he has no idea what he's talking about. But it just shows you YouTube. These people don't know what they're talking about, and they have these big followings because people glom onto them. But the problem is, then they believe what they're saying is true. They go with their analysis, and they act like it's the ground truth, and it's not. It's problematic. And again, that's an issue. And it makes it possible for people to actually know what they're talking about, using this as a platform, since they don't have a big media company behind them. It makes them subject to the same thing. Oh, they're just YouTubers. Well, there's PhDs on here. There's subject matter experts. There's physicians. There's geostrategists who are on YouTube who know what they're talking about, and they try to dismiss them as saying they're just a YouTuber. And that's unfortunate because you got those talking heads like that I don't know who the guy is, but this guy says he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of nonsense people out there that I would just say, they're just a YouTuber. But like you said, there's a lot of very, very important, very intelligent people, a lot of scholars who are doing genuine good work on a whole host of things in a lot of fields. They're not just YouTubers. They are professionals. They understand what they're doing. They're trying to educate you. Maybe you pay attention a little bit instead of just saying they're YouTubers.
Well, in fact, the Daily Maverick, a South African newspaper that used to be relatively centrist, has gone hard left. They did an article in which they tried to diminish my credentials, my bona fides, when I discussed the topic. They mentioned YouTuber American Chris Wyatt, not Colonel Chris Wyatt.
Right. Defense Intelligence
DAO.
Agent, DAO.
Exactly. Exactly. Not attaché, not security cooperation officer, not postgraduate university lecturer, not multiple degree holding, not polyglot who speaks 6 languages, not a published author in academic circles. I've accomplished more than this so-called journalist has ever written on my own. And she tries to diminish who I am by saying YouTuber. It just shows you how corrupt these people are. But anyway, it's but the problem is that you get people that don't know what they're doing, and then others can make this nonsensical thing. But unfortunately, that's going to be it for the week. That's the unfortunate. We'll see you next week, folks, right here on the Common Sense Conservatives. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Be sure to hit the like button or the thumbs up on whatever platform you're watching, and tune in next week when Todd and John and I will be broadcasting from Area 51, introducing you to aliens.
Awesome show.